I want to share with you today a very breakthrough moment that I'm having around Myers-Briggs. I talk about spiritual personality typing, but I use Myers-Briggs as that foundational tool to become fully aware of myself, not just from the internal aspects, but from the external aspects, because we are human beings. We have a logical aspect to ourselves, all right? A physical aspect of ourselves, the human part. And the beingness part is the non-physical, which I like to call that's part of our divine intelligence. That if you listen to my channel, you know I believe we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So the divine intelligence aspect is that divine intelligence that brings us our breath, our functions. It is the unlimited source of all there is. It is the great I am. So I believe that I have that flowing in me. It's how I function. I mean, I don't sit there and think myself, I've got to breathe now. I've got to breathe now. I got to breathe now. You don't do that. So we are very unaware of this consciousness divinity that's within us. That's a lot of that what I teach is trying to get in touch with that divinity. But today I want to take you back into something that I discovered about myself, and the reason why I explain that up front is so you understand that, okay? This is Nina Zapala. I place to talk about spiritual personality typing. It is on the leading edge of Myers-Briggs. It is Myers-Briggs revisioned, reimagined for today's transformative times. I think not only we're heading in transformative times from a personal standpoint, a lot of people are transforming. A lot of people are saying this isn't working anymore. This old paradigm that I'm living in isn't suiting me, and this is part of what I want to get in touch with for you today, so you can see it from my perspective, so you can apply it to your life. But beyond that, there's a transformative economy coming into play where if you're not driven and contributing from a more soulful, heartfelt, giving, like a gratitude type of sense of being in the world, kindness, you're going to stay put. I just feel like that's my 2 cents, okay? So if you're liking what I'm saying here, go ahead and click on the subscribe button, share this video with somebody. I think this video is going to be very powerful for anybody that discovers me and finds this. I hope you do, but when you like it and comment and share, you help me, tap the algorithm gods, and we use our energy to move this message forth, right? Because we're using this positive energy to move it all forth. So appreciate if you do that, but let's get into it. So, I've been going through this, it's struggle, and I struggle just like you all are struggling, I'm struggling, and a lot of people are struggling. But for me, I've been practicing spiritual personality typing now. It's been close to 7 years. Well, I shouldn't say that long. It's probably been about 4 years, but it's growing and growing and growing. But I practice it, so I use the spiritual tools that I teach you to use in my book, Unpack Your Personality, Let Your Inner Guide Be Your Travel Guide, because the book is really a 101 on spiritual personality typing, because I take you to unpack your personality, and then we talk about that inner guide, let your inner guide be your travel guide, which is your spiritual essence. So as you can see, I'm preaching what I'm teaching, because I'm talking about the human aspect, personality, and then the inner guide. But why I bring this up is because I use my spiritual tools all the time. I do a lot of meditative walking. I do yoga a lot. I do meditate. I meditate more on my walks, though, because it's easier for me. But I also meditate through breath works a lot. So I have tools. I wake up in the morning and I spend an hour on these tools. So it's not like I'm using them all the time, but I was getting stuck. I'm like, okay, what the hell's happening here? I'm not moving forward like I want to be moving forward. What is going on? There's a block. Something's blocking me. So yes, I did go to my go-to master, which is Jesus. And I tell you, when he comes over me, I just cry. It's just the energy is so intense. But I just call him in and say, what is going on? And he kind of helped guide me. Doesn't ever tell me, because they want you to figure it out, because if them telling you, just like what I tell you all the time. That's what I tell you in the book. That's what I tell you in my videos. If you're not fully experiencing it, yes, knowledge is power, but you have to experience it fully for it to become a wisdom. So then that wisdom becomes a tool that you can apply to your life. And when you have wisdom, you can click out of struggle situations quicker. So you're not going to be drowning in like what I call my 7-year life tsunami. Hopefully you won't do that. Hopefully you'll use the tools that I'm sharing here with you, so you don't have to go through what I went through. This is the whole reason for my existence now, is to help you create a life that you love. Isn't that what we're all here for? I'm doing what I love. I'm creating a life that I love, but I still struggle. So let me get into the struggle aspect of it. So I've been struggling. I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? So I know if I'm practicing my spiritual tools, and I have had my conversations with Jesus or Yeshua, however you want to name that. He doesn't care. It's Christ energy. It's a beautiful energy that just, it's so full of love. You can't even explain it. But I'm talking and I'm not figuring it out. So I'm like, okay, there's an aspect of something that I'm not seeing. What am I not seeing? So I, like many people, I take my personality type for granted. So I already know it. So like, I don't need to go back there. I need to focus more on my spiritual tools. That's not always the case. And this is what I'm going to teach you here, because in this instance, it was not the case. So what I'm doing, and I'm going to read this from my book on page 44. I'm an ENTP. So what I call inferior, what is called in traditional terms, inferior trait, right, is a trait that I use the least. So it's called a functional stack. So it's functional stacks of how it functions within your personality. I like to call it like a trait stack. So just like it's a stack. So this is the last on the stack. It's usually the least conscious, right? So, but I tell you to be conscious of all your traits so you can start pinpointing this stuff. So when your spiritual tools aren't working, you go back into your Myers-Briggs tools and, this is what's not working. This is why this is doing this, right? So my inferior trait, right? Or in the book, I call it like an opposing trait, or, in this, I use travel. So I use the travel terms. It's the air traffic controller. It's there, it's on the runway, but it's not sitting in a plane. It's not taking off. It just kind of stays behind, right? But you need to get conscious of it, because divine intelligence does not create out of randomness. Everything that comes from divine intelligence, all that is, has reason. Every single thing. You might not see it right away, but it's always there for a reason and purpose. So I'm saying that every trait in your functional stack needs to be looked at, needs to be intimately known, and you need to be knowledgeable about each trait. Here's the trait I'm speaking of for me. It's introverted sensing. So introverted sensing is a process of understanding the physical world by referring to past experiences and precedences. Individuals with introverted sensing functions may pay attention to details, preferring rituals and customs, and rely on laws, okay? Which is fine, right? But here's the rub, and this is why it's in direct opposition from my overarching trait, which I call my North Star. Okay, that's the primary trait. Or if you're a traditionalist as far as Myers-Briggs, they call that your dominant trait, which I'm not a big fan of that word, but it is what it is. So extroverted intuition notices patterns, symbols, and connections that many routinely overlook. Generally, with people with introverted intuition are artistic, holistic, and imaginative. They are likely to be the least extroverted the extrovert. But here's what I want to show you about this. They are innovative, right? Futuristic. They see things that are greater than what is. So can you see how those traits are diabolically opposed to one another? And we live in a world that predicates, that that insists on do this, do this, do this, do this. So it's very in rules, and then look back because this is what this person did, so you should do this, right? Oh, this is changing, thank goodness. Now, I'm not saying an introverted sensing trait is bad, but see, what was happening to me is it was out of balance. This is what gets me out of balance with my personality type all the time, for me. Now, a lot of people have different things that get them out of balance, but for me, what happens is I start relying on that trait, which is kind of what is, and taking the what is and bringing it into my present moment and making decisions from that. That's not very unhealthy for me. But now that I figured that out, I'm aware of that. So I need to go back and start recalibrating some things that I was doing from that old thinking, stinking, and put my extroverted intuition into work and see what choices I can make from that perspective. So you see how different that is? So I was making choices from a perspective that was unhealthy for me. It was too dominant, and it's not my North Star either, but it's familiar. And this is the catch with so many things in life. We tend, as humans, to go back to what's predictable because we don't want to go into the unknown. But going into the unknown is where all the treasure is. It's where the serendipitous moments are. It's where things, you're just guided. Things just pop into your reality. You're like, oh yeah, that's what I need, thanks. It's like so cool, right? But if we don't listen to ourselves and know our personality type and get into this on a deeper level, I would have struggled on and on and on and on and on. Now, this has been a couple of months, longer than I'd like it to be, but this is obviously something that my soul is telling me, you need to learn this before I can get you going to your next level of evolution. The thing is, divine intelligence is not going to set you up for failure. It's just, no. He'll pull you in, he or she, the great I am, whatever you want to call it. She pulls you in and makes you come right up to the edge, look in the mirror and face that fear. What is that? Why are you doing that? And this, what I'm speaking of here, was a direct result of a fear that was baked into me in childhood, which that's where a lot of fears start. Some fears maybe not. Some fears maybe start from a relationship that you experience later on in life, or a business associate. It doesn't matter. It's a fear that's been baked into you that's telling you, stay here, it's safer. Because your ego doesn't want to face that fear of the unknown, right? So what divine intelligence goes, nope, you got to look at it. You got to peel those layers back. And it goes back to the 3 short videos I did last week on hearing the voice. You got to hear the voice of divine intelligence. So I did hear that voice. Sorry, I need a sip of water. It's really hot out here, but it's not as hot as it could be. But that voice of divine intelligence was saying, go back. You got some stuff to look at. So it's not always this like, oh, I'm on this spiritual journey, everything's moving this way. No, it's not always like that. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Or sometimes it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back. There's things you need to look at. And this is an evolving process. But if you want to create a life that you love, you got to do the process all the time. So I'm doing the meditations. I'm doing the breath work. I'm doing the yoga. I'm doing all the things that I know to do for me. And still that's not enough, because we're physical and spiritual beings. So sometimes it is a physical thing. Sometimes it is within your mind, a cognitive function that you need to look at and say, oh, I'm doing that again. This isn't the place to use that trait. It opposes me. It doesn't support me in the journey that I'm on right now with this. Sometimes that trait does work. I figured out how to use that trait. And I figured out why I love old historic homes, why I love thrifting, why I love to, travel for estate sales. Those are all things that I love because of that trait. But it doesn't move me forward in my evolution of my life, of creating a life that I love. That's not where it fits into my personality type. This is why I'm talking about breakthroughs in Myers-Briggs. You're seeing this, hopefully, from a totally different perspective than you've ever seen it before. I want to bring you these different perspectives so you can start looking at them in your life and seeing, how can I use that for myself? How can I bring this perspective forward and start creating the life that I love? How do I do that? Well, I'm showing you based on what I'm doing. I'm as real as I can get here, right? But I think the best teacher is somebody you can learn from that's going through it. This isn't some esoteric, oh, you gotta go sit on a mat, you'll figure it out, make sure you have your crystals with you. Not that any of that stuff's bad, but you gotta figure your stuff out first. Then go do all that, whatever you want to do. But if you haven't figured out even the essential personality type, who you are, and correctly identify. I just had another person that came to me and she goes, I'm an INFP. And I'm like, there's no way you're an INFP. I mean, like, she's a social butterfly. And not that INFPs can't, but not to the extent that they're going to lead a parade and, like, gather all these people and they're going to have BFFs in, like, 2 seconds. That's not their personality type, right? So you really have to identify that and identify it correctly. If you want to do that, I give sessions for that. It's like $150. I mean, it's not even a lot. It's an hour-long session where we get out and we get gritty. We figure your stuff out. And I take it from not only from a Myers-Briggs perspective, but a spiritual perspective. So you're getting a BOGO, basically, right? But I feel it's essential. It's essential to your well-being. It's essential for you to get into this so you can live a life that you love. Don't you want to create a life that you love? Right? So that's why I go back and I use my book. I go back, I'm like, what is that again? I'm like, oh. But it's right here, so I'm not going through all my research stuff now that's stacked and stacked and stacked. I don't have to do that. I just go right into my little book and say, oh, because I did this. Oh, that's what you're doing. So I was leaning, my introverted sensing was leaning on a perception that wasn't fulfilling my future self. I know who I am right now. I want to evoke my future self, a better version of me. And then when I reach that, I want to evoke another future self, another better version of me. It's always a progression forward. So a lot of people say, like, I want to know who I am. And that's what I'm telling you. Knowing who you are is identifying your personality type from both a spiritual and a physical, the logical. So from the spirit mind and the logical mind. You want to know both aspects. It's essential to know who you are. Then you can start plotting this stuff like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to become? And start putting that in your head, right? And this trait was blocking me. And that's why I was getting so frustrated. I was so frustrated. I was frustrated. And I can tell you, totally transparency, I wasn't allowing myself to do the work. I kept on going to my spirit stuff. Well, I'm meditating, it's not working. I'm doing my breath works, it's not working. I'm in yoga and I'm thinking it's not working. Because I didn't commit to doing the work. I didn't commit to going up to the fear, all the way into the fear, and totally looking at that and say, oh, that's what that is. So I needed to look at this fear and move beyond the fear, which is never fun to look at the fear. That's the dark, crappy, slimy, ucky, places that you need to bring a light into yourself. No one likes doing that. Who likes doing that? No one on the planet. But I think it was Dr. Joe Dispenza said, but if you're living your life 90% of your life from that place of darkness, where are you going? You can't even, how can you see forward? You can't. But I wanted to bring this to you today because this is really cool stuff that they can use, man. This is something that they can take and say, oh, how am I doing that? How am I doing that? How am I letting my trait actually block me from getting to the other side, from getting into that forward motion, from becoming that who I want to become, from living a life that I love. What is it? And if you have your spiritual tools and you're looking at them and those aren't working, go back. Go back. It's your Myers-Briggs tools. You're given these tools for a reason. Go back and get familiar with them. And look at each trait. I'm like, oh, it's my inferior trait. And a lot of times it is going to be your inferior trait because it's opposing to that North Star, right? It opposes your North Star. So that inferior trait, it's the last trait in your functional stack, and it's usually the less conscious. I want you to make it conscious, so you're consciously aware of it, right? But it does oppose your North Star. It just does. It's just, but you know what? It's dualistic. And everything in life is dualistic. Extrovert, introvert. Sensing, intuition. Feelings, judging. Feelings, thinking. Judging, perceiving. Everything's dualistic, you know? There's a duality to you, which I think is very interesting. So once you start knowing that, you're like, okay, something's always going to be opposing this. So how do I work around that opposing, or how do I walk through the opposing and know it so well that it's not going to oppose? I'm not going to live from that past moment anymore. I'm just not going to do it. Here it is. It's in the past. How can I bring the past to where I'm going? That's like driving backwards. I talk about that in my book. It's like trying to drive a car and you're looking in your rearview mirror trying to drive a car. I'm like, that doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work. So I hope you like this, and if you want me to, I'm open. I'm ready to teach this full blown. So you start getting into this, and it's a breakthrough. It's something. It's breakthrough. It's breakthrough Myers-Briggs. It's not the Myers-Briggs that you're used to talking about. I don't come from a 1940s paradigm. Again, that's 1940s. We're not in 1940s anymore. So that's why I brought a spiritual component to it. You have to get into that divine inner intelligence that I speak of all the time. Your divine spark, the Holy Spirit, your heart center, your higher consciousness, the great I am, I don't care what you call it. It's the life force that breathes your breaths, that makes your heart beat. There's an intelligence within you that we have not been told to tap into. So there's a great intelligence. And your body is very aware of it too. You know? Body's very aware of it. Because when I'm going backwards, I have symptoms of my body. You know? My back starts to hurt. My lower back starts to hurt. There's symptoms that come up. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? What's going on here? And it starts alerting me, right? And if you don't listen to the beautiful whispers, they become lion's roars. Like my 7-year life tsunami. It was like my spirit mind was just like my spiritual self. That divine spark within me was like hitting me over the head going, oh my God, you are so stubborn. You don't listen. I'm like, yep, I know. I'm not perfect. Because I got stuff that I deal with. I am stubborn. I can be arrogant. I can think that I'm always right. I'm right a lot, but I'm not always right, right? And that's becoming less and less important to me as I create a loving life for myself, as I move myself forward. Back in the day, that was really important to me. And for a lot of reasons, right? For a lot of reasons. I'm not excusing it, but now I understand my old self better and why I was so like that. But I'm also not like that anymore. I don't need that anymore because I'm not living from that perspective. So when you start realizing all this stuff, it just takes you to a different level, man. And it's exciting. So I hope you learned something from this video, because I do these videos for you to learn. Again, if you want to like, want to subscribe, you want to share, you want to drop a comment. I answer comments. I'm trying to build my YouTube channel, you know, and I'm not like into, and I'm unconventional. So they're like, well, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you know. I just don't believe it. I know it is, but it's just not the paradigm I want to come from. I'm trying to build us all a new paradigm that we don't expect anything. If somebody drops a video and it's helpful for you, like it, share it. Same thing with the newsletter. If I'm pumping out newsletters and they're great for you, do you really have to expect another freebie or something on top of it? I don't think you do. But that's just the way I think, you know? But this is part of the transformative economy that I'm talking about. It's not about take. It's about give. Difference. There's a difference. And I'm not saying give where it's disruptive, like you're over giving and you're not giving to yourself, because I believe you need to take care of yourself first. But that's my little rant. Just my little rant. But anyhow, I hope you like this. I hope you learned something about it. If you have a question about your type, if you want to sit in a session with me, I guarantee you'll learn something. Anybody that I brought through the sessions are like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I need to do some other work, because I'm hearing from other people, they want more, and the book's not enough. I already have people that are saying, Nina, I love your book, but I need to go to another level. I'm like, okay. And I'm glad there's people that are so eager to learn themselves, to create the life that they love. I'm just happy that this is happening. It's exciting to me, because that's what I want to help people. I want to help you create the life that you love. That's a goal, you know. It's a bold, audacious goal, but it's what I want to do. Can you imagine if everybody on the planet was living the life that they love? Oh my gosh, we would literally create heaven on earth. But that's what I want to do. You can create the life that you want to live. So why not create heaven on earth? That's my goal. I want everybody to create the life that they love. So anyway, enough said, right? Okay, if you haven't gotten the book, it's like $23, $24, right? Or get the Kindle, it's like $9, whatever. But this is a great place to start. You know, if you want to start creating the life that you love, and really start learning about yourself and understanding yourself, not from just the physical, but from a spiritual aspect as well. And you wanna be that person that wants to marry your human beingness together to create that holistic, organic self. That's what we're here for. It's a good place to start. Or go to the blog. I have like hundreds of blogs. They're all free for now, because I gotta monetize some stuff. But blog's another great place to start. All right. All for now. Have a great rest of the week. Nina Zapala, Spiritual Personality Typing.